Hey everyone, big thanks for supporting the podcast. We really do appreciate it. If you want to hear more from us, hit the subscribe button or press the bell icon for future updates. Well, welcome, Rich.
Hi, Nick.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. Yeah, good. Good to see you after all this. I say after all this time.
We do bump into each other.
I saw you at Hull University when we did that careers chat.
Yeah.
Sat like a proud daddy next to you, really. What you delivered for Superfly.
Oh yeah, it was nice because we're both from the same school.
Yeah,
we're both very similar ages, so it's nice. It's quite nice to see that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like nice. It's nice to see someone else that is like coming through them. Like you've gone through a similar trajectory. And I suppose we'll get onto this, but not quite the same. You've got your own journey. So can you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Rich Quelch, Chief Marketing Officer for a company called John Good Group, based just in Hazelwood Hall, just down the road from the head office of Superfly.
Yeah, great. So, like we just mentioned, like we've known of each other probably for years, and then we've probably known even more of each other in our working lives. But then you've got an amazing marketing journey, in my opinion. Yeah, a lot of people will look up, I think, to you and think that is the exact path I want to go on when they're at university or whatever they're doing marketing. And they think chief marketing officer, that is pretty much almost as high as you can go from a marketing perspective, from a job title perspective. So how the hell has this happened?
It's not been easy. I'm really erring on the being cliche, but the journey that I've taken from even back in the day where it was like on the brink of potentially becoming a footballer.
Yeah, I remember. I was going to mention that you were a really good footballer. I remember that from school.
I'd like to think I was, but many other people's opinions probably weren't. But so I was that classic young boy who was wanting to be a professional footballer. All in eggs was one basket. And it didn't work out. And people have opinions, and it was either I take the route of just writing to a load of clubs and getting a trial and all that kind of good stuff, or do I go the route where my brother and sister had gone, which was sixth form and then into university and then into a job.
So when was that you decided, right, I'm not going to put all my eggs in the football basket?
I think it was the point where I was released at Hull City, and I thought, and genuinely, and it is an honest response, I threw my toys out the pram. And it was a bit like, well,
fuck
middle finger, pretty much middle finger to Hull City. And by the way, I love the club, and it's I've season pass holder now for the first time since they were in the Premier League. That's not glory sport, is it?
No, it's not.
So and it was a bit like that, and that's probably at the time, reflecting on it, it was the wrong attitude. I should have gone to other clubs, and I should have wrote to them and give me a trial.
You're young though, you don't.
Well, exactly.
You're not remotely in the same mindset.
And it's like, well, if you don't think I'm good enough, then I'm not good enough. So that was kind of a mindset. So I decided sixth form was the best route. After year 11. Is it year 10 or year 11? I can't remember.
Year 11.
Yeah, then it's year 12 and 13.
Then it's year 12,
Yeah, so I went to sixth form, and I did media studies. Now, admittedly, at the time when I was going through, I'm 39, so that was, God knows how many, 20 odd years ago now, but media studies was seen as that Mickey Mouse.
Yes, it was.
Subject matter.
Yeah, it was,
You're taking that because it's easy.
Yeah, it wasn't taken seriously. Yeah.
So I actually took it because I had at that point, this is taking back my memories now, I wanted to be the creative director of Nike.
Oh, wow. That is an aspiration.
That was what I wanted to be.
Why not? Like, it's great. Like, back yourself.
Weirdly. And it's because my sister's friend he is the creative director of Nike, and I looked up to him, and he was like, wow, he's an amazing guy. He's now creative director of Converse, because Nike bought him, etc. So that was in my mind. So media studies I wanted to do, because media studies links into brand marketing.
And you almost had like a direct kind of like influence in that.
Yeah, exactly. So I did media studies. I did English Lit and Lang, which was the most difficult subject I've ever come across.
Yeah.
I came out with a decent grade in GCSEs, but my God, A levels was just a different level.
I failed my AS levels, and then I had to crawl them back at A levels. I think because you get to that age, there's a lot of distractions.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, called drinking and all that kind of stuff. I guess.
That's the enlightenment. Into
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, this is a thing that we can do.
I think your promotion from Spiders to Welly, wasn't it? That was your,
I was always like a big Spiders fan. To be fair, I'd go to Welly sometimes, but Spiders was always my drinking hole.
So, and then the other subject was PE. Now, PE wasn't all practical. Now, I'm a practical PE person. Good at football, but like sports in general. Decent grade practically, but theory, again, honestly, the most difficult thing I've ever come across. And I really struggled in sixth form to get those grades to get into university. And even at that point, did I think university was going to be my route from sixth form to uni? It might have been sixth form. And because my dad at the time was involved in building houses, it was kind of, we were talking about, you could do an apprenticeship, plumbing, electrician. Now, some of the invoices electricians give, I'm thinking it's the wrong career that I'm in at the moment. So I did decide to do the whole academic route. I delivered a really good grade in media studies, and actually one of the catalysts for that was the coursework I did, which was random, but I'm a massive hip hop fan.
Oh right,
as you can tell. And I did a case study on FUBU. I don't know if you remember FUBU.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
God.
so FUBU was a hip hop clothing line. From LL Cool J.
Isn't that like 2000?
Early
2000,
yeah,
like late 90s, early 2000s.
And it was booming at the time. Hip hop, LL Cool J, blah blah blah. And I did a project on it and the influence of predominantly black music and clothing and how that has an influence on culture. I was getting really deep into it. And I got a really good grade. I thought, you know what, marketing is a thing I think I really enjoy doing, and advertising and campaign work. So at that point, when I came out of sixth form, my grades were okay. They weren't amazing. I managed to somehow get shoehorned into Hull University.
Right,
And ultimately, I had a choice, Leeds Met or Hull. And believe it or not, I didn't want to move away.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It was a weird thing. So I went to Leeds, I went to Hull University, business school, because it's actually quite renowned to have a really good business school in the university world.
Yeah.
And I did marketing advertising. And admittedly, in the first year, the hype of university, living at home, doing all the whole nights out, and to put it bluntly, I pissed it up the wall for 12 months.
Had fun though.
And it was good. Great experience. Played with the football team and all that kind of
That's
stuff.
Part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's part of the university experience.
And then year two was a bit like, oh shit, hang on, my grades are actually going to be contributing to my final degree. So year two was kind of buckled down, but an element of messing around a bit. And I did okay, scrape through. And then the third year was dissertation year. And that was like, I need to do well in this dissertation. Otherwise, I'm going to come out with a bang average, degree. And I actually did my dissertation on a local build in Hull. It was a development. And it was on the marketing, comms and mix of how they delivered that in that area. And that was my first time of engaging with marketing directors.
Oh, wow.
Professional people who are building houses. And I built a theory on, if you could put a high-end development in a deprived area, does that have an impact? Because that ultimately what it was at the time. And I really enjoyed it. And I got a really good mark. And I thought, you know what, I can do this as a career.
There's like a theme almost developing here.
So, and then completely throw out the window what I've just said, because I came out of university and I wanted to go into fashion.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I went into, it was more of a, I don't know what it was. I wanted to be, because Nike and fashion and, that
Didn't you work in a clothes shop for a bit?
So when I got the degree, I wanted to work at Topman and Topshop.
Yeah.
So
I remember,
my role.
Because I worked in French Connection for a bit.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I basically got a role as what they call a product specialist. So it wasn't the day-to-day role of being on the shop floor.
Yeah.
So it was quite an interesting role because it was a new one, because it was I was there for just over 3 years, and my job was to prepare the transition, if you can remember, going from Prospect Centre to St Stephen's Shopping Centre.
God, yeah, that seems like...
And the square footage of the shop floor in Prospect, it basically quadrupled into 2 floors into St Stephen's. And my job to begin with was to understand, and there is a psychology, when you walk into a shop, where best product selling lines should be put and merchandised in the store. So key sight lines as you walk in, you will naturally look right.
Oh, wow, God.
So, and midway. So your best product lines or your new launches or releases will go there. And my job was to look at data and to basically merchandise and support the merchandising team to support poor performing product in areas where we need to put them to be able to sell more. And also, as you can imagine, demographics all are different from us in Hull to Leeds. So Leeds will tend to get the better products because they're seen to be more fashionable, which I disagree with.
Well, they're not necessarily more fashionable, but they'll have a different demographic.
Correct.
And there'll be more money.
Student-led as well. Obviously, Leeds is a bigger student population.
Yes.
So my job was to essentially try and attract the better product coming from distribution centres. And that was a really good job. Like, it was behind the scenes. I was getting in store at 6 a.m. So I was moving things around before store was open.
Yeah.
And then looking at the data the day before and then moving stuff around, essentially. And that got to a point where I actually went for the graduate scheme, which was basically to become a store manager. And I went through the graduate scheme. It was in London. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And I think it's deep-rooted, which will lend itself quite nicely to where I am now at John Good Group. But my purpose was always to do with helping people achieve their goals to ensure that they're fulfilled as well. And one of the questions posed to me in the interview, because you do like assessment days and different scenarios with a shop if you were acting as a shop store manager. And one of the questions, what's the most important thing to you as a store manager? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm the most commercialised person you've ever come across, particularly marketing as well. But my answer was to ensure that my team are in the right roles and are happy and they're delivering, because that will contribute to the performance of the store. Actually, in hindsight, what I should have answered, because I had a really good relationship with the trainer and she gave me the feedback, and I actually didn't get onto the graduate scheme. It was me and Lisa. I remember Lisa. And she got on. She was brilliant. And actually, she's not in here in retail anymore. She actually owns a pub. But my downfall was I should have turned around and said, profit.
Yeah.
Because that's what obviously ultimately is. The store needs to be profitable to be able to drive the profit of the group.
I think if you would have said that now, you might have had a different response.
Yeah.
Because that's a bit, you're almost before your time to some degree, because you're thinking about the bigger picture rather than thinking about what the actual picture is. You're thinking about how you're going to get there.
Correct. Yeah. So then that kind of was kind of the beginning to the end at Top Man and Top Shop. And it was time to start to utilise my degree, because obviously my degree is marketing and advertising. I'm behind the scenes on data in a store. It was the team were brilliant. I had such a good time. We built friends for life. And I just thought it's time now to become more commercial. So I actually then I applied for some roles in random PR agencies in villages in outskirts of Leeds, and didn't get the job because I had no experience. So I thought, right, do you know what? I'm going to go into recruitment, because that gave me an opportunity to sales and recruitment, because that gave me the opportunity to get into the commercial world. So I actually went through an organisation called Pareto Law. You might have heard of them, 80-20 rule. So Pareto Law is basically graduates
I have.
being put into sales roles, essentially. And their theory is hungry, young, driven graduates are a lot more cost effective, and productivity is 100 times increase versus your, not every business, but your sales director, a bit lazy on fat paychecks. It was that whole model, and it works. And it's to this day, Pareto Law are doing pretty well. So basically, I went through the assessment day at Pareto Law, and what they do is they put 50 graduates into a room. You do different scenarios. It's a bit like X Factor, to be honest.
Oh, God.
And I can remember they were going through all their lads' shoes, and they were looking at shoes and going, why are you not wearing laces? So some people had slip-on shoes style. That's not a good impression. And I kind of get it at the time, because you want it to be seen as well as to be delivering as a salesperson. So went through that assessment day, and what they do is that assessment day, they then put those graduates towards their clients. So they've built a lot of clients up who need sales graduates. And actually, I think there was 10 of us that got through the assessment day. At the end, they literally call your name out, and you go into 2 rooms, and I'm like, oh, crap, I haven't got through here. And where do I turn now? Because I need this to start my career in commercial sales and marketing. And there was 4 of us went in this room, and the 6 of us went in this room, and I'm like, oh shit, we haven't done this. I've been cut. Anyway, we had the big guy came in from Pareto Law, and he was like, fortunately, you've not made it. God, you can imagine the sinking feeling. But the good news is we want you to come work for Pareto Law. And I'm like, oh.
Hey?
interesting.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're not going to put us towards your clients. You actually want us to work for Pareto Law.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, they were recruiting for a team to set up a Leeds office.
Oh, right.
So,
God, that was mean, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, you haven't got this. But actually,
and do you know what? The adulation from being, no, to
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God, we've done it. And
Yeah,
like this
yeah.
naive guy with a shitty tie on and a
Yeah.
crap brown shirt
Yeah,
on. Like,
yeah.
you know, I've made an impression.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was then we went through like a training 3 months of going to Wilmslow, just outside of Manchester. We stayed there, we trained up, and then we deployed into Leeds, satellite office, and we built basically from zero revenue up.
Yeah, yeah.
I was there for a year, and I can only describe it as a bit like Boiler Room.
Right.
Remember the film?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was really, and in looking back at it, it was the best thing I ever did. And it was hard sales. We were the juniors of the office. We had our sales managers who would go on appointments.
I bet it was
but we were back
tough.
at base.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were just bashing the phone. And to this day, there's still a big place for strategic cold calling.
Yeah, yeah, there is, yeah.
As well as the rest of the marketing mix. And I cut my teeth massively. In that 12 months, I went from a, good commission, this naive, like trying to be somebody I wasn't, to then going, do you know what? I've learned a lot off. I mean, ironically, it's come full circle. I'm actually now working as we'll just call it a consultant at the moment, but for Sam Field, who actually is now a part of a Prentify group. He was my boss at Pareto Law.
Right, right.
And I learnt a lot off him. In the sense of dealing with, because I was only young. I was coming out of 2-3 years. So I must have been 22, 23. Really young and naive, working with sales directors, owners of businesses, and telling them they need graduates to put into their sales team because the productivity will go up. They'll generate over time better revenue, etc. And over the 12 months, it was like revolving door. It was like there was people leaving. Like, am I going to be next? Am I performing? You had KPI to the hill.
There's performance, and then there's people that I imagine that go into it and like, nah, I am not doing this.
Yeah, exactly. It's not for me.
Yeah.
And I stuck it out for 12 months. I stuck it out, and admittedly, there was a point where I was going, is this for me? Do I want a marketing career? But that salesmanship over 12 months gave me a really, really nice experience that I can start to dovetail into marketing. So I actually got the opportunity, and this is where I come back to Hull, because I lived in Leeds for a year. For Hull Truck Theatre. So Hull Truck Theatre moving from...
I remember that. Actually, I remember you going.
I can't remember. Was it Spring Street? So Spring Street, old school Hull Truck Theatre. We're moving into the Black Box on Ferrens Way. Brand new theatre. And ultimately, they needed a commercial side of the theatre to basically generate revenue.
Yeah.
So bums on seats to the theatre on the evening. What's happening during the day? So I was head of commercial of events, essentially. And my job was to put events into the box, the black box. Auditorium was 2 auditorium studio and the big one, the big auditorium. And I loved it. Like I was there, and I was approached by a recruiter, Dave Kitney.
Oh yeah, Dave. Yeah.
So Dave rang me with, "There's an opportunity here to come back to Hull. Do you fancy it?" So I went for the interview just because it was a new thing. It was zero, and I guess this is in my blood, growing something from nothing. And yeah, so I did that, and went back to Hull Truck. Went back to Hull, moved back to Hull, grew that. We had like the standout thing for me. There's 2 things at Hull Truck. Was we did an international conference on the reflux system.
Oh right.
Acid. Coming out the pipes.
Acid reflux. I get
the most
that.
random subject matter, but it was amazing for the city because all these international surgeons from around the world were coming into Hull. So the economy, restaurants, hotels, it was amazing. So Hull Truck was putting that nucleus of this is a driver here for the city, and we got to work with Richard Reed at Innocent Smoothies. Right, so that was via Eskimo Soup at the time. So here's where I'm going with the link. And John, that's when I started to meet John Gilbert. So John Gilbert at the time was the managing director of Eskimo Soup.
Yeah,
so
and Chris as well, wasn't it?
And Chris Middleton. And Phil Postel. So that was the link. So we did the Innocent Smoothies. John had managed to bring Innocent Smoothies as part of this Health Week. And that's where I met John. And John, after about maybe 2 or 3 months we were working together, he kind of said, do you fancy it? Do you fancy coming? We've got some big clients coming on board. You wanted to become part of a marketing agency, because that was my ambition, was to be part of agency land. And I turned him down the first time. It wasn't right. I'm quite loyal, and we were doing quite cool stuff, and we managed to get James Martin, the chef. We did a food festival over a weekend, and that was a huge cash generator.
I remember that.
And that was amazing. And then ultimately, long story short, I said to John, do you know what, let's do it. So I moved to Eskimo Soup. That was my first taste of agency land and working for a marketing agency. And I was there 3 years, just over 3 years.
Well, yeah, that's quite a while then.
So I landed there as events and account manager, which was my job title. And then I progressed quite quickly into account director and then marketing director. So that was quite quick.
Yeah.
And I guess that was the impact I had where I opened up a new area for them. It was into retail, so shopping centres essentially, if you can remember. And that became a really nice revenue for Eskimo Soup at the time.
Yeah.
So basically it was shopping centres around the country that were bought up by, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry for the pause. I just messed my mind now.
It's like investors.
But it's oh god, when we retire, why my head's gone?
Trust funds.
No.
Pension.
Yeah. Sorry. So I'll start that again. So at the time when I opened up the new revenue stream, it was shopping centres across the UK.
Yeah.
And these were basically pension funds being bought up to revitalise quickly and to sell on at a profit. So our job as Eskimo Soup was the retail arm of Eskimo Soup was to basically rebrand shopping centres.
Yeah.
And to give them not only offline marketing, signage, etc., but online to drive more traffic, more footfall offline, events. That was hard work. We were trying. I mean, one was in Essex. I can remember, like it was yesterday. Physical events in shopping centres, just a logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
But it did really well in terms of the revenue, and I thought, you know, there's my entrepreneurial spirit coming through.
You're a person that throws yourself at things quite hard, don't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I just had a conversation with Adam, my CEO, this morning, which was exactly that. And there needs to be a balance of throwing yourself into something and slowing down as well at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'll come on to that later on. But so then Eskimo Soup, and then we did really well. And then there was an opportunity to create my own agency, Panda Splash. So after 3 years, and it was quite an emotional time because John Gilbert, like I still see him as a bit of a role model now.
Yeah.
And I meet John regularly anyway for a coffee because I love, he taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And it was quite emotional telling him like, I think I need to do this myself now. And he was like, kind of a proud dad at the time. He was like, "Yeah, do you know what? You're ready to do this, and you know, you go with our blessing." It was really nice.
That's
it was
nice.
Yeah, it was great. So we created Panda Splash. We built it to about 200,000, $250,000 in a short space of time.
You accelerated fast because I remember. I think I set up Superfly at a ssimilar time.
Yeah.
And you can't help but compare yourself to other like agencies, and I was like, shit. They're doing real well. Like, what am I doing? Me and my brother just sat here having a.
But there's a moral of the story: don't ever compare yourself to others.
Well, exactly, 100%. Yeah.
Exactly.
And now I've since kind of learned that, and also it's over a long period of time, stuff changes, doesn't it? But yeah, absolutely. It was. Yeah, you guys are doing good.
Did all right.
Yeah.
And it looked rosy from the outside, and we attracted some we were winning at the time Strawberry when they were a fully fledged agency rather than being Shopify experts now.
Yes.
But they were seen to be the ones to steal, to borrow work from.
In
Hull, you know how incestuous it can be trying to win work, and we were winning work.
Yeah.
Little old Panda Splash.
I'm sure you were because you as a person, or you come across well, but also you've got that sales experience.
Exactly.
You've got you know how to talk the language, and you know how to talk about what people want.
Yeah.
And sales is such a big part of B2B stuff, isn't
exactly.
it? And you don't really know that until you start doing it.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I've calmed down a bit, and I was that young, naive salesperson, and a bit excited. We can do this, this, and this. You remember when you started Superfly, you'll be a hero to everybody. You want to take every single project on.
100%. Yeah.
So we did that. We had that syndrome, and we were attracting. We had Nancy Birtwistle. Don't even remember her from the Great British Bake Off.
Oh yeah.
She rang the office.
I remember it. Yeah. Wasn't she from across the bridge?
Across the bridge. She rang the office. Said, "I need a new personal brand developing because it hasn't come out on TV yet, but between you and I, I'm about to win the Great British." And that was amazing. Like this little, how are we managing to do this? It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Whipped through all that. We were doing pretty well, and I won't go into too much detail, but we didn't go bust, and I'll categorically say that.
Yeah.
We just had a misdemeanor within the team.
Yeah. Sometimes relationships can just break down, and you can't really do anything about it or repair them. You just have to probably just be like, look, let's let's do different things.
Exactly. Yeah. And what was really nice at the time, and it was stressful, don't get me wrong, and my first daughter was born at the time.
Yeah.
We were starting to close projects down, and I never wanted people, especially in this area, to be left out of pocket.
Yeah.
So we were all, it was the team. We were delivering projects, and even at a point where we weren't paying ourselves.
Yeah. But still delivering
I've got a baby daughter.
Yeah.
3 days old.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. The stress you must have gone through at that point must have been pretty high.
And it wasn't nice.
No.
But you can always look back and go, do you know what? I've got through that.
Yeah.
And I can use that.
If I've got through that.
I can do fucking anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Gavin Appleby, creative director at the time, kind of helped me deliver. And what was really nice at the time, I had a couple of phone calls from clients that we were about to engage on work, website builds and design. We want to invest in you, Rich. So we want you to create your own agency. And I'm like, at the time I was speaking to Origin, which is the next chapter of the story. And I was like, the time is not right now. It sounds brilliant, but I can't.
Need more stability.
Yeah, exactly. Ultimately, that's what it was.
Because when you start a business, there's no it's not a stability.
And you know yourself.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Testament to you and your brother. What an amazing business that you've built, and the credibility you have within the local region.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great. Honestly, it's those stories that I love, because that's entrepreneurial, that's hard work, that's a good product. That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
So at the time, I was speaking to Origin Pharmaceutical Packaging, and they basically said to me, we need to build out a marketing team. So we were engaging them on an agency level.
Yeah.
But they said, would you be interested? Now, they didn't know we were closing down Panda Splash. So I just went in there and had a discussion with them around being their marketing director for Origin and building something up. So I thought, you know what? I've never been client side before. So this was my transition from agency of 6 to 7 years into client side, into an alien industry of pharmaceutical packaging.
Yeah.
So far, fucking removed from Nancy Birtwistle.
Yeah.
So
it is,
and that was it. Your man, you picked it up. I will throw myself into it. And building nothing. There was nothing there when I joined Origin, and it was a case of building a team.
You were there for quite a while, weren't you?
Yeah, just under 8 years.
Yeah, that is a long
good
time.
stint.
Yeah.
And marketing world, from a seniority, you do probably about a 3-year stint.
Yeah,
and then you move on, because you've done your planning, you've implemented the plan, and now the plan's moving and it's growing. But there was such a good company, really nice people, local to where I lived, just around the corner from your offices.
Got young kids.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the stability that I required.
Yeah.
And actually, it was something where I could own my own little business within the business. If that makes sense.
So it was almost like the perfect happy medium transition. Yeah.
So we grew that. I joined them at in 2000. Where are we now? 2024. So 8 years. 2016, 17ish.
Yeah.
And I joined about 9.5 million, and we grew. I left at 26.1. So in 8 years, we've taken it from 9 million to 26 million.
Amazing, yeah, amazing.
I'd love to say it was all marketing.
Well, no, it was all marketing.
I'll put a disclaimer in. We had a big influence.
Yeah,
because what I mean by that is they never had a marketing team that actually contributed to the revenue within the business. So what we
it's like
did,
accountable.
Yes, exactly. And hopefully you know me as a person. I will always be accountable for what we deliver for a company or an entity or whatever. So we then started to build this marketing wheel, which was going from. I first joined, it was nothing, no visibility, no strategy, no leads. They may get a trickle in.
Yeah.
Poorly executed in terms of website and brand and positioning. And we took that from zero, maybe dumbing it down slightly. They maybe got 10 leads a month through just word of mouth and emails coming in. And the point where the height of the pinnacle of Origin was we were creating 120 leads a month.
That is insane.
Unbelievable. But
so you've almost 10, 12, 15 times.
However you want to spin it. But that sounds like it's like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of hard work in there, but it wasn't rocket science. And that's the frustration for me when it comes to marketing.
I think maybe you are discounting yourself a little bit there.
Potentially. But do you know what? We grew it, and it was an amazing thing. We became an international business.
Yeah.
We were my KPI was we position ourselves as the leading UK pharmaceutical primary packaging supplier and designer, but also our niche was child-resistant packaging. And my job was to gain an inquiry from what you call the top 10 pharma, GSKs, Pfizer's, all your big boys, basically.
Yeah.
And we managed to do that within 14 months. We had an inquiry from pretty much the top 20 asking about packaging, and which was hard because we were the middleman on some of the stuff. We were buying bottles to sell bottles, and we were a distributor ultimately.
Yeah.
But we had some really good niche projects, which just sat really nicely. So that was really, really cool. And regards to the revenue and the growth, but it was actually establishing Origin as a really good leading pharmaceutical packaging supplier into the supply chain of healthcare.
Yeah.
And then we launched Lifestyle, which was then a consumer packaging business, which was your aftershaves, your creams, your health and body and all that kind of stuff. We did pretty well with that. And it got to a point where it was like I was hitting the ceiling. I'd done my job. I became quite established because they're part of what we call Plymouth Brethren. So they had a lot of their Plymouth Brethren business emailing me saying, "How did you do what you've done here?"
Yeah.
And Tim, the CEO at the time, was like, "You can help, but I pay your salary. Get that." But they're all about helping other businesses as well. And then it got to a point where it was like, because I've always wanted to be, my aspiration is managing directors and CEO. That's my next step.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was like they want to do it, but they can't because I'm not part of the community and all that kind of good stuff in terms of Plymouth Brethren. And basically at the time it was 2022, and basically lost mum and dad quite quickly.
Yeah.
So just 2 seconds, sorry. I thought I'm never going to do this.
Oh man, seriously. You all right? You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. Yeah?
That's the first time in a long time that hit me.
Yeah, man. I suppose this is what can happen if you start to verbalize things and talk about your journey, because sometimes you don't talk about stuff, and when you actually start to go through the journey and verbalize it, it starts to all come flooding back.
Do you know what I was doing in my head then? How I talk is I prepare myself, knowing what I'm going to say in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So
and you've already prepared yourself. Yeah.
Just keep your shit together.
Yeah. You don't have to keep your shit together, man. Like, sometimes
do you know what? It's weird. Like it just comes in waves, and that's a long time since I've done that.
So I'm guessing this is approaching this difficult time that you went through.
Yeah. So it was February 22, and Mum passed away quite suddenly. She had her own health issues, mental health, and da.
Did she? Yeah.
But it was sudden death syndrome, basically.
Fuck.
So then that was like a car crash in itself. Yeah. So Mum had passed away in February, and it was the flipping wake for Mum at the pub.
Yeah.
Beach Street pub. And then Dad comes across, and he obviously devastated, and we ripped apart type of thing. And then he a couple of days later, like, I've got a lump in my throat. I'm like, for fuck's sake.
Fucking hell.
It's like, why didn't you tell us? Oh, well, the mum thing and understand that, but talk to us about it, and this is for everybody in the world. If you find anything, talk about it so we can get it sorted. Anyway, it turns out, long and short of it was cancer.
Yeah.
And he went within 3 months.
Fucking hell, man.
So you can imagine losing mum and dad.
Yeah. Within
a short space of time. Like, I'm still quite young.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So huge, like, in and out of Castle Hill for that 3 months. Awful time and all that, and just helping him through it, whatever. Can you put some post-production so you don't look up in so, and looking back, it was horrific, but strong, weirdly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was a time where Dad had a heart of an ox. It was ridiculous. Just fighting the thing. It was like unbelievable. If I have a fraction of that, like, amazing.
Well, you've got that fighting spirit, haven't you? Yeah.
So at the timing was when Dad was in hospital. We had a HR manager who'd left Origin to go to John Good Group, and she contacted me on LinkedIn. Said, "Look, I'm building out a job description for a marketeer. Can you come and help?" Because I used to do that for all the other Plymouth Brethren businesses, just to help them get that right marketeer in.
So the fit seemed good.
Yeah. So I met the lady, and she was like, "I don't really want a job description building out. Adam's quite interested in speaking to you to become Chief Marketing Officer at John Good Group. Ego massage, lovely, and all that kind of good stuff." But at the time, Dad wasn't very well, so I was like, the timing's a bit out. And I spoke to Dad, and Dad was like, "Look, Origin have looked after you, and they've been great, and they have genuinely to this day. I still meet the CEO for a coffee." He just said, "I think it may be time because you want to push yourself again into the zone of where you think, oh my God, I'm sinking here a bit." And I kind of need that. My personality needs a bit of stress to thrive.
Not that much stress.
Yeah. Trying to learn that. I got told off by Adam this morning. So basically, I went to go meet Adam for coffee, and from the and I wouldn't say this to his face, but he's obviously watching this now. But it was kind of one of those moments, when you first 30 seconds meeting somebody and you go, "I really like you."
Yeah. You have
you think like me. Your mindset's brilliant. I can really rub off on your energy. And I like to think he thought that when he was talking to me, because I'm like full of a Duracell bunny who's going to go make shit happen, basically. So he said, "Look, do you want to do this?" And with Dad's conversation, it was like fuck it moment. And that fuck it moment was, it can't get any worse. So let's just go do this thing.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
So I agreed, and I said to Adam, "Let's do it." And now I've been there just over 2 years. Yeah. And as you said, the pinnacle of getting to that job title, and that's a vanity thing. And I admit that it was always go for that senior role title that you can get in marketing.
But I think in order to get to that role, you have to have that, I am going to do this in my brain. No matter, even if however long it takes, I'm going to do this.
Yes.
And I suppose you've always had, I think it's like the journey that you've been on. It's not a fucking easy one, is it?
It's not.
And you've always had a very much not necessarily single-minded, but very much a route planned in your head. Although that route has probably changed in your head, it sounds like when you've wanted to do something, you've done it.
Yeah, and
I think is a profoundly positive attitude to have.
I would say that to anybody who's going, not even just marketing, in terms of a career, always have a point of what you want to achieve. Now, that might not necessarily be a senior role. That might be in a role where it could be anything that's really interesting to you, but always have a vision to go deliver it. Because I over the past couple of years, I've believed in manifestation. Yeah. And I don't get deep into stuff like this, but if you manifest something and you go, "I can achieve that," I go and deliver it.
Yeah. Don't happen overnight.
No.
But hard work. I suppose that's the point in manifestation, isn't it? It takes time.
Keep going and keep driving. And sometimes it can be stressful. But ultimately, if you've got that vision, you can achieve it, and you can. And so meeting Adam and becoming that CMO of a company that's everyone knows about but doesn't know about, John Good Group.
Yeah. Locally.
It was a blank canvas. So Adam joined a year before me, and the John Good Group had divested Good Logistics. And he was basically left on his own with Ben, CFO, in central services with 5 operational businesses. It's like, well, what do we do? Because all the central services went with Good Logistics. So his job was basically to build out an exec team and then start to grow this thing. And in 2 years, Adam's impact is unbelievable, really. Not just in terms of revenue, but the purpose of the business, which people are now starting to understand what John Good do.
Even from a person who has got nothing to do with John Good Group, maybe apart from knowing yourself and a couple of others that work on the marketing team, I am starting to get an understanding.
Yeah,
and I'm not invested. I don't really have any links at all, really. So now I'm starting to see your stuff more. I know about like the rebrand. You got a new offer. That level of communication is coming across.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to hear. And I think we've done a good job with John Good Group as the overall company, and that's done its job. It's established itself in the city. It's profit with purpose. Now, as the size of our company, we are delivering initiatives of a blue chip company nature, and that's why I'm still to this day, 2 years in, I'm amazed by it. Like over £300,000 profit into social impact initiatives.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Unreal. Like, and as an employee, I get given a budget to donate to whoever I want when it comes to charities.
So the company's donating 300 grand a year, and then everyone within is this right? Everyone who works for the
John
company,
Good Group. So in their opcos, they're still an employee of John Good Group.
Is able to then choose who they donate the money to. I mean, I don't know of any other company that does that.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And then also we've got our employee giving program, which ultimately is the kind of the umbrella, because we all filter into that. But the employee giving program, which is quite exciting, it'll be launched. It's always been a thing, but we've now taken hold of it and rebranded it for internal purposes. But we get £60,000 a year because the Matthew Good Foundation, who facilitates, we work really closely with the Matthew Good Foundation, which ultimately is part of the John Good Group,
right?
But its own separate entity.
Yeah.
They facilitate everything for us. So they get hundreds of applications from charities. Now, when we work with certain sizes, it's those ones that can't amplify themselves. As you can imagine, in a charity, they're busy delivering what they do as a charity. They can't shout about themselves to gain more revenue to help them grow. So we actually, as employees, we have a voting system every quarter, and we vote the top 5. So from £5,000 through to £1,000, we weight that to the top 5. Amazing! Like you're giving out this sort of money, and it's having a huge impact.
I bet.
And that's part of the reason why I joined, was because don't get me wrong, I'm commercial and I'll drive and I'll create revenue through marketing, but actually, when you get a bit older, it's like, what else? What does life mean? And that sounds really deep. I'm like 39, but
well, you've had a fucking like super deep dive into what that meaning really is, haven't you? So then that means a lot more to you than it previously probably would have.
And I think my values align very well with John Good Group. And yes, it's on a really exciting journey. It's growing really quickly. Certain areas of the business, good travel management, business travel. And we've taken that, and they never had a marketing wheel behind it.
Yeah.
And now we've gone from, again, a bit of context. When I joined, we were doing cartwheels because we were getting a lead in every month, one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is everyone happy with this?
Is this okay?
So we put, and I take this from Adam, and Adam is really eloquent at saying this, but you get your people right, you get your processes right, and let it run.
Yeah.
And we've kind of done that in a micro level with marketing. Adam's done that on a macro level with John Good Group. And then I've taken that really. I begged, stealed and borrowed it.
Yeah.
And we've got a great little team and we serve those businesses. But GTM's gone from 1 lead to, on average now, 67, 70.
Yeah,
that's in 15 months.
That's ridiculous.
And I haven't done anything like rocket science. And this is where the stigma comes in. My personal mission, everyone stop creating this, like, there's a dark art to marketing and all these fancy terminology keep coming out. I'm like, what the fuck is everyone on about?
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Good brand positioning, good go-to-market strategy, and that might dip into different mix within the marketing mix. And go execute.
Yeah.
Speed over perfection. Don't wait. Get it in, implement,
do it,
and fine-tune it as you go.
Yeah, 100%.
What we've done with GTM.
Yeah.
And it's growing, which is really exciting. And marketing, I've got a friendly, I say friendly bet, but it's a competitive bet with the commercial director at GTM. I said we'll bring in more revenue than sales team.
Really? Yeah.
Our marketing team will bring in more revenue than the sales team. How times have changed.
They have changed. Yeah.
And you'll know this because you deliver marketing across a spectrum of industries for a load of clients. And you know the impact that good marketing can have on the bottom line.
Yeah. I think as the world changes, like, I think marketing and the technology behind marketing has been able to kind of adapt itself very well to that.
Yeah.
And as generational personality changes as well, like younger generations of, I mean, even like, and I think we're going to touch on this on another podcast. But like the people who like are getting jobs now are very different.
Yes.
They've grown up in a different world. Some really good There's a lot of good sides to that, but there are also there's positives and negatives to any generation.
Yeah.
So I think that I suppose the good thing about marketing is it is highly adaptable, whilst sales maybe not so much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think, you know what, and that's not that personal mission thing was around every talk I will do or every podcast or whatever interaction I have. I mean, I was sat in a room yesterday full of senior people and CMO sat there, and I'm talking on a level with the sales and senior directors saying marketing will play a part and they will drive revenue. And you can see their eyes going, there's a marketeer saying they're going to drive revenue.
Well, it should.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How can you not? Like,
just give me the time to implement.
Yeah, time.
And we have to deliver it. Now, there's quick wins, don't get me wrong, but then from a medium long-term perspective, if you genuinely want to grow via marketing and sales, then you've got to give it the time to be able to put it in place and then let it roll. Because you're A/B testing everything.
Yeah.
Some tactics may work for one industry, it will not work for another.
And one thing might work now, but in 2 years it doesn't work.
Correct.
Because of all sorts of different technology might have changed, like the economy might have changed. It's a constant analysing, retuning, retuning.
It's one of those things, and like I'm now on this journey of being CMO, and you know, I think I'm always learning, even at the point of being at the height of CMO. But that's when you need your team to come through and start to tell you, have you seen these new techniques? Have you seen these new plans and strategies?
100%.
New tech coming through.
There is absolutely no way I am going to try and do marketing on TikTok. It's like, no. Like, I don't like the platform, but like Ellie and Lily are amazing at it. They know what to do, and we've worked with some really cool people that work on TikTok. And I know the benefit of it in certain industries. But you could apply that to a lot of different things in marketing. But I suppose you've always had that accountable attitude, but now that works really well in a more of a senior marketing position, because you're looking at the bottom line and you're looking at the long-term goals. And that's what you want, don't you? That's what businesses, that's what like CEOs want. They want a marketing person who's going to be like, we're spending this amount, but look at the improvements. Like, look at what we're doing here, and it's always an improvement.
I think, and this is a personal opinion. I think the best marketeers have a commercial angle on them.
Yeah.
So my salesmanship that I went through at Pareto Law gave me a lot, because I understand how sales works and how that actually happens when to grow a business. Because it literally is, a company will always go, we need more sales. But you can't always just rely on a human being to go develop sales. Now, marketing plays a part in that. So now when I have a conversation with the CFO, Ben, when it comes to budgets, I'm going by data.
Yeah.
I'm not being that old school marketeer going, well, we've done a nice brand. And
you're de-risking the whole thing, aren't you?
You give me £1, Ben, I can show you, which I do. I show them what profit comes back into the business. So you can't argue against that.
No.
And it's there for Ben to see. So Ben's basically going, what do you want?
Yeah.
Which is great. You've got a great mindset in a CFO, but really because he's trusting me and he's got data, I've got data backing me up to say that actually you put £1 in, you're going to get £2 back out again. It's not a bad investment if you're doubling your money. So it's that I think from a marketeer's perspective, and I guess advice to anybody going through that career of marketing, is if you really want to be moving through those the ladders of being up to the marketing director of the world, you've really got to get a grasp of your numbers.
Yeah.
In your budget versus output, and how do you eloquently educate stakeholders internally that yes, leads and revenue is really important, 90% of it, but actually you build a good brand that's going to have an impact on lead generation, on awareness levels, and you have to educate to show how important it is. You get your brand right, architecture, you get your performance right, fuse them together. That's where the magic happens.
100%. I 100% agree with that.
And that now I'm client side, and I guess for you as well, you need to educate as you visit new clients, but it's that education process, and everything will have an impact on a lead coming in. Yeah,
it will. You can't have a shit brand or no brand awareness and then expect like the performance marketing side of things to work.
Agreed.
So to sum up, I mean, what an amazing story, an amazing journey. And thank you for being so authentic and honest with that. There's not it's very brave.
That hit me. That was a curveball because I've not got emotional over the past, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 months. But if you've ever touched death before, but I've seen the podcast previously. It just hits you in waves, and that was I knew weirdly it was coming. It was coming at me as I was talking. But I think it's an important part of the story because
it is.
I think the mantra to take away, if anybody takes any away from this podcast, is I think you need an element of fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
otherwise you'll never know what could have been.
Exactly. You've kind of bounced the amount on that story. You've had opportunities which you've made your own, and quite a few of them haven't worked out, but you bounce back real fast. You're just like, right, no, let's move on to the next thing. And I think that resilience is what has been a big part of kind of your success. I mean, you're not even 40 and you're Chief Marketing Officer, so well done.
Thanks, appreciate that.
All right, cheers.
Thanks.